Alright, let's try this shit again. So what I'm going to talk about now is my comic Endlocke. Now my comic Endlocke, it's actually been in production ever since I was in high school, which is about, god damn, like 14 years ago? I'm old. God damn. But it started off, it was actually called Deadlock, and it was kind of a crappy story. It was very complicated. I'm not even gonna lie. It was a girl. Her name is Violet, and she has an alter personality that lives inside of her, lives dormant inside of her. She has a husband who's a mad scientist who's bent on taking over the world. And one day, he's an abusive husband, and he basically knocks her unconscious, and the alter ego takes over her body. Her husband ends up getting power because he was working on a science project to give him godlike powers to take over the world. So he ends up getting power, and she ends up turning into her alter ego, and she was basically going to find him, going out into the world to find him because he left her alone to die. The story was okay, but it was like, I knew I could have did better. So then we kept revising and revising it, and what happened is the story just wasn't coming together. And at the time, my art kind of really lacked in art. So we actually tried to sell it as a comic, manga, and we sold it at Otakon, and it bombed. We got 200 copies of it, and we sold maybe 13 copies. I actually still have like 2 or 3 cases left of the comic. It just did horribly. Surprising enough, my friend who was a DJ, he actually made a soundtrack to the comic, and those sold like hotcakes. So we didn't really crash because luckily his music saved our lives. But my comic unfortunately didn't. So I put it on a shelf and went back to the drawing board basically. And I've actually just started doing this again maybe within the last 2 years, developing my skill and getting my characters back and making them look better. And as you can tell, they actually, I should show you the old stuff. Oh man, that'll be another one. That'll be when I talk about Endlocke again. I'm gonna show you the old stuff and how different it looks now. The pictures that you see right now, these are from the comic. So that's what I'm showing you as I'm talking about Endlocke. Now the story for Endlocke now is, it's kind of the same thing. It's about a town named Azure that's ran by a mayor, and the mayor is keeping everybody trapped in the city under a dome because there was this worldwide catastrophic event called Endlocke, which it was nicknamed by a bunch of kids who played a video game that was similar called Endlocke. So it's kind of like a nickname of what it was, but so the story is there's this thing called the Gold Eye, and the Gold Eye basically has the power to make this barrier around the city. So I didn't even explain what Endlocke is. Endlocke is when the world had enough of pollution and basically humans fucking things up, and it started to fall apart. Now, the Gold Eye has the power to protect the city. So the city is using the Gold Eye's power basically to stay from being destroyed by the whole world falling apart. But I'm not gonna actually spoil because it's later down in the chapter, so I'm not gonna spoil it. But so this is Violet. She is the actual Goldeye. She wants to see the world and be free. She's tired of being a Goldeye and protecting the world. She has to stay inside the mayor's court and keep this barrier protecting the world. Or protecting the city, I'm sorry. And she doesn't want to do that. So one day she tries to break free and she ends up getting captured. And they almost kill her, basically. And she is thrown back into the mayor's court in order to protect the city. But basically she's dying. And one way or another, she wakes up and she's with this guy, Endlocke. And he is basically saying, oh, you're my wife, and I just need you to stay with me, and you can't go outside because the world is bad, and blah, 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 blah. And he keeps her under an iron fist, basically. He makes sure she doesn't go anywhere. She has to stay inside the house. And it's kind of like the same characters, basically. So it's the abusive husband that basically keeps her in the house and doesn't want her to go anywhere. He knows that she's a Goldeye, but she actually lost her memory because she almost died. So she thinks, oh, this guy's just telling me what my life is. I don't really remember. He is trying to take her power and embed it into him so he can turn into a Goldeye himself. And I'm not going to spoil why he wants the power, but it revolves around... I can't tell you. You're going to have to read it. Go to squarespace.com phrase canvas. Squarespace.phrasecanvas. I don't even know my website. phrasecanvas.squarespace.com. Sorry, everybody. phrasecanvas.squarespace.com. That's how you're going to see it. So the comic is up there, and I update rather frequently. It's actually only in chapter 4 right now, so I don't want to give anything away. But that's where we're basically at right now. She wakes up, and Endlocke, the blonde guy, is basically saying that, you're my wife, and I need you to stay in the house because that's what I want you to do. So, he has a companion, Doc, that helps him gather stuff because he's trying to gain the Goldeye's power, which is Violet. That's why he has Violet in the house with him, because he's going to eventually try to take her power from her. Even if she dies, it doesn't matter to him because he doesn't really want her. He just wants to have her power. Meanwhile, on the outside of the city, you have a mayor who basically wants to control everything. He wants to keep the city under his thumb. So he's willing to do anything to make sure everybody basically follows his orders and abides by his ruling. And that's where I'm going to stop with that. Because I don't want to give away too much stuff. It's actually... I think I did a really good job on the story, and I don't want to give too much away because I know a lot of people still haven't read it yet, and they're still not into it yet. So it's like, I don't want to give away that much. I will introduce some of the characters, because I can do that, obviously. So this chick is Violet. She is the main character, basically, and she she's the Goldeye, but she doesn't remember that she's the Goldeye. This character, who you'll see in chapter 4, that's actually Violet's mother. Her name is Gaia. And not too much is known about Gaia currently. She She was actually a failed experiment, because the scientists in the mayor's court, they tried to make, they were trying to make the gold eye, and she was made, but her power wasn't enough to sustain the barrier that holds the city together. This guy over here is her father, another failed creation. So basically what happened is, this guy's named Collective, by the way. So Collective was also a failed creation, that his power couldn't sustain the barrier around the city either. So what do? Well, just like when you're mating, you want basically when a mom and dad get together, their kid comes out with the best of both worlds, right? For the most part. So Collective and Gaia got together and made Violet, and Violet, her power was enough to sustain the barrier around the world, or around the city. So that's how that happened. I'm not going to go any further into that. Let's see what other characters I got in this sketchbook. Zombies, because everybody likes zombies. There's a zombie Violet. Zombie Violet. Zombie Owendralt. Yeah. Let's see. I think that's it. I haven't drawn too much Endlocke stuff in here, surprisingly. So yeah, if you have any questions about Endlocke, you can feel free to ask. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I will answer questions about it. I'll open it up for the next like 2 minutes or so. If I get nothing, then I'll just cut it from here and we'll do another one soon. So there's no other pictures in there for Endlocke. Let's see. I'm gonna see if I can find. Let's see if I can find any old drawings. So Endlocke is my pride and joy, basically. I love it so much. I just couldn't let the story go. Even though I didn't give you much of the story, I couldn't let it go because I think it's actually one of my coolest written things. And I can't find any of my other sketchbooks. What the hell? Oh, I'm gonna find this sketchbook, damn it. I found it. I found it. So, moving this along. This is the old sketchbook, and you can see it's beat the hell out of. So, that was old Violet. Now compare old Violet, which isn't, I mean, it isn't that bad. But compared to new Violet, I mean, look at this. It's obviously better. Obviously my style has gotten more defined and better. That's another character. This was Doc, and I don't think I showed Doc. Doc is Owendralt's companion that actually helps him put together his work for to get the Gold Eyes powers. I don't have any current drawings in this other sketchbook of Doc, but I have a zombie Doc. You can see him over there. This guy right here. He basically has a mask on, kind of like, what's his name from Star Trek? LeVar Burton's character. I can't remember. Yeah, you can kill me for not knowing Star Trek characters. I'm sorry. But a visor over his face, and he's a doctor, so it has a medical thing over it. And he has green hair, and he has dreadlocks too, which you can see one right here. Obviously his face isn't like grotesque like that, but I'm sorry. This was old Owendralt, the blonde guy that I showed. That's what he looked like beforehand. Nope, that's not it either. I always find the zombie picture. It always lands on the zombie picture when I'm trying to look something up. There we go. You can see how he looks different. Looks better. Looks way better. Much more cleaner. Much more manga-esque. And then we have Melody, which is a character that appears in Chapter 2. She is like the personal bodyguard for the mayor. Then you have Grace, who is the character that was Melody's sister, but I haven't put her into this story yet. Then you have Goliath, who was Owendralt's sidekick, but I replaced it with Doc, and Goliath is actually going to appear in another group in the story. So hang tight for him in the future. This is Maxwell, who's going to play a key role in the turn of events that is going to happen. That's going to kind of screw up the whole dynamic in the city of Azur, which is the name of the city that they're protecting and living in. Then you got Taboo. I'm debating still whether I want to put Taboo in the comic. He was a rival to Owendralt, a rival scientist to Owendralt. And I think, I'm not sure if I want to put him in yet. Owendralt kills him. And he, thinks that he kills him. So he comes back basically trying to get revenge on Owendralt. You know what? I think I will. I think I will put him in later. So it's official. Taboo will be in the story eventually. These are other Goldeye characters that I came up with. They're just designs, basic designs for them. I actually kind of like this one. She looks like she could whip ass. I might revise her and put her in somehow. Like I said, it's not too bad. And the funny thing is, this is actually the second revision. So these are the third revision, the finals that I'm working with now. And these are the revision before. This is probably around my college days. Maybe I was like 22 or so. This is the mayor before I changed this look. That's the mayor now. It's kind of more sinister. Kind of looks the same, except he's balder. And he has a cross on his face. So I didn't really change their looks per se. I kind of just made them look more defined and better. This was actually the collective beforehand. And it was, at that time, just a blob. Just a black mass of nothing that could shape into like a human or any form like that. But now it looks like that. I wanted to make the characters more like gigantic and enormous and monster like. I didn't want them just to be like some blah crap that I scribbled on the page, you know? So I went back and totally revised that one. This is Aurora. She's going to appear much later in the comic. Once we get past the arc, the big arc, which is eventually the dome that's protecting the city is going to come down, and that's when she's going to be introduced. This is Kosei. I really like him. He's, once again, he works with Aurora, so he's not going to be until later. This is Unsong, or Song Maiden. She has 2 different names, and she can basically sing your demise. She sings, and whatever she sings usually comes true. So that's how I had her power set up. But that might be too big of a power for her, because I don't want it to be like, she sings like, oh, I want you to die, and you just die. So maybe I'll have some limiters on that power. I have to rethink her. This is Nine Share. She's actually, she'll appear later in the comic. I changed her role. She's now a Goldeye, a failed Goldeye. And I like girls with bucky teeths and braces. I don't know why, they're just so cute to me. So it's like, I made a girl with bucky teeths and braces. And she's a klutz. So I like it. That's why I like her. That's why I'm putting her in a comic, because I like those type of girls. I like brace face girls. Go figure. This was Rame and Rapture. Rame and Rapture were twins that also worked for Aurora. They were little kids with psychic powers, but there's kind of too many little kids out there with psychic powers, so psychic powers is kind of getting old to me, so I probably will X them out when I go to introduce more characters. This is Keegan Goggets. He was one of the mayor's lieutenants, and he is basically a psychopath. What happens is, in the original story, his son gets killed, and he basically just goes mad, goes crazy. So he basically kills anything, even other people's children, as you can see in that picture. Apparently that's where I was going at that time when I was 20 or so. You see that? Yeah, apparently he's gonna throw a baby off the building. Okay, I was in another world back then, apparently. But I might put that back in there. That sounds like an interesting idea to work with. Anyway, this is the Fallen Void, which actually has completely changed her image. This is actually what she looks like now. I changed her look. She's sisters with Violet. And let me see if I can get I think I have another sketch of her. So I got her looking like that. As a bucky teeth, I don't know why. I like it, but I put it in there. So I can tell you a little bit about her. Her name is Kakarin, and she is the current Goldeye that is holding the city together. And she kind of hates the world, and all she wants to do is be left alone to herself and to read books. And anytime people disturb her while she's reading books, she usually kills them. So that's basically, so being the Goldeye for her is perfect, because she can isolate herself from the world and just keep this barrier up, and all she has to do is be left to her own devices. But that's later in the story. So back to this. So that's her revision. She looks like that now. This is old Gaia. Look like I was trying to go for Mother Earth of Captain Planet with her at that time. And I came back to it and I was like, I don't really like that. So I changed it up, and now she looks like this. She looks kind of more ninja style, I guess, because I do want her eventually to be more of a fighter in the series. So that's why she looks like that now. And I think that actually looks better than this, because it kind of looks bland, to be honest. This is Brody. Brody is my favorite character in the series currently, because she's a cannibal and she works with Melody, and I have a lot of cool drawings at phrasecanvas.squarespace.com of Brody eating people, and there's chapter 2 especially. She gets to munch on people, and it's cool. So this is her. She's a Native American, and you can see I changed her substantially because I didn't want her looking like a stereotypical Indian girl. So I made the only thing that can really tell you that she's Indian, and I didn't even use this headband with the feather in it in the final version. I ended up just using a regular headband, just like in this drawing. But her skin color and her headband, it looks like a headband that an Indian would wear. Yeah. So that's her now. She has a lot of hair. Lots of hair. This is Kova. Kova also appears in the story. She's kind of like Melody's rival. She is, but she's not a fighter. She's like Melody used to be a prostitute, and she used to be like the, what is it, the bottom bitch? Is that what we call it? Bottom bitch? She used to be the head honcho prostitute. So when she left, Kova kind of took her spot. So she always, every time they see each other in town, she kind of gives her shit. These are just some extra characters. Extra character. Glitch is going to appear later in the story. He's going to be a part of another group that's trying to break free and get out of Azur, which is the city. This is the Mugsies. Now the Mugsies, interesting thing, Melody used to be, Melody is like a, I have her in a, she's jazzy. I wish I had pictures of her, and I am sorry for, you know what? I do have a picture of her. I do have a picture of the revised Melody. It's kind of colored all on because I have a colored image on the other side. But this is Melody, and you can see she's inspired by like the 1920s, like gangsters and all that stuff. And she liked jazz music. Well, part of her backstory is she used to be in a jazz band, which was called the Mugsies. And the Mugsies also, not only were they a jazz band, but they also did mercenary work. So that's where these characters come in. I'm still debating whether I want to put them in or not. I think that might be a little interesting if I do. I just got to figure out how to work them in, since she was now a prostitute in the past instead of a band member. Yeah. And these are extra drawings that I never brought to fruition. Just different characters. But this is college stuff. My college drawings. Second book of Endlocke. I think I still called it Deadlock back then. Yeah, I did. I still called it Deadlock back then. But now it's Endlocke, Endlocke, Endlocke. And you can find that on phrasecanvas.squarespace.com. And that is it for tonight. So I'll see you later, guys.